My adoptive father showed me a disgusting video. The girl in the video had a chain around her neck. She was pressed into the toilet and made to bark like a dog, and then she was stripped half naked and forced to take photos. I asked, "Who is this?" My adoptive father choked up, his body trembling as he looked at me and said, "Your sister. We were just having a conversation." But why did he curse? Later, I transferred to my sister's school and bullied all the scumbags who had bullied her one by one. Even the passing dogs couldn't help but take a second look at that scene, and my paranoid younger brother would even kick them twice. The harsh mocking laughter in the video continued. "Sophia, bark like a dog for Kathy to hear. I'll let you go if she's happy." The girl, who was on her knees on the ground in a humiliating posture and had her neck chained, struggled feebly. Then she was kicked several times in the stomach. The girl's lips turned pale from the pain, and she curled up on the ground, clutching her stomach. During the pushing and shoving, her hair was roughly grabbed, revealing a face that was swollen and distorted from the bullying. Then, that face was slapped hard several times. "You bitch, how dare you try to seduce Jasper? Don't you know what you look like?" The person recording the video was so emotional that the camera shook violently. While I was distracted by the video, my arm was suddenly grabbed. I turned around, and my father stared at the video with bloodshot eyes. Grinding his back teeth, after trying to calm down for a while, his lower lip still twitched from grievance and sadness, he said, "Rachel, Dad is sorry for you. After I skinned those bastards alive, remember to visit me in prison." I pointed at the girl with a swollen and deformed face in the video and asked, "Are you sure this bullied girl is my sister Josephine?" My adoptive father George had a daughter who had been missing for many years, and her name was Josephine. When I was 4 years old, she was abducted by human traffickers, and she had been missing for 13 years. When I was 7 years old, because I looked 7/10 like Josephine, my adoptive father spotted me and took me home. I went from a street urchin rummaging through the trash for food to the young lady who received all the favor of the wealthy businessmen in Peace City. The bullying in the video continued. She was forced to drink dirty water, slapped, and all kinds of humiliating means were used on her. My father was sobbing, but he forced himself to finish watching the video. On one hand, he couldn't bear to watch, and on the other hand, he wanted to clearly understand the tragic experience of his own flesh and blood, or rather, he was torturing himself for losing his daughter, which indirectly led to her being horribly bullied. I thought that if I didn't turn off the video, my father would go crazy. Where's my sister? The reason why I accepted Josephine's existence so quickly was that my father had been brainwashing me with the idea that Josephine and I were like the left and right atrium of his heart, and it wouldn't be complete without either of us. It would be better if I didn't ask. Once I did, my father choked up and burst into tears. Half an hour later, I met Josephine. The first time I saw her was in a photo. 3-year-old Josephine was wearing a cute pink princess dress. The background was an amusement park, and she was holding a pink cotton candy in her hand. She had curved eyes and showed a row of small white teeth. Her eyes were clear and pure, and she was so cute that my heart melted. The girl in front of me was 17 years old, at the age when she should be as bright as a flower, but at this moment, she was as broken as a withered flower. She was thin and small, lying on the hospital bed, covered by the quilt. Her thin body didn't show any sign of breathing. All I could see was a head wrapped in bandages and a bruised and swollen face. My father started crying again. That day, when he went to visit the school, Josephine jumped off a 5-story teaching building in front of him. Fortunately, there were some obstacles that buffered her fall, so she didn't die on the spot. She was saved, but it wasn't certain when she would wake up. Which child isn't the apple of their parents' eye? What kind of inhumane torture did she suffer to choose such an extreme way to end her life? My father said that when he saw the ambulance take her away, he instinctively thought that if it was me who jumped off the building, he would definitely go crazy. I wanted to say that if I was bullied, I definitely wouldn't jump off the building. Even if I were to jump, I would drag the person who bullied me with me. Then, by a series of coincidences, the moment he learned that the one who jumped off the building was his biological daughter, he was almost driven crazy, but the thought of getting revenge supported him. Old age seemed to happen in a moment that he couldn't bear. My father had a lot of white hair on his temples, his tired eyes were bloodshot, and his back was hunched. The man who used to support me and lead me out of the darkness was no longer there. He hugged me and said in a hoarse voice, "Rachel, the greatest blessing in my life is you. The greatest regret is that I didn't educate your younger brother well. As for your sister, It's the guilt and regret that I won't be able to rest in peace until I get rid of those bastards." I patted my father's shoulder and said, "It's stupid to take revenge with your own hands. It's even stupider to ruin yourself for revenge. Dad, I won't let anyone who hurt my sister go." A month later, I transferred to the school where Josephine jumped off the building. I stood outside the teacher's collective office. A girl in a simple school uniform came out with a stack of test papers in her arms. Her slender neck was like that of a swan, and she held her head up proudly and gracefully. When she came out, several girls rushed over to her and started chatting. "Kathy, what did the teacher say? Need you ask? It must be Kathy who will participate in the competition. I told you. Kathy is good-looking and smart. She's 100 times better than that Sophia." A faint smile flashed in Kathy's eyes. "Don't say that. My only opponent is myself." "Kathy, you're too kind. Sophia is so bitchy. She tried to seduce your brother, but you're not even angry." Kathy's face changed slightly. "Liking someone has nothing to do with their identity. If my brother really accepts her, I'll bless them." Seeing her looking down, the others quickly comforted her. "The whole school knows that your brother cares about you the most. How could he like that bitch?" The bitch they kept talking about was my poor sister, who was forced to jump off the building by them and was still lying in a coma in the hospital. Looking at their relaxed atmosphere, it was obvious that the building jumping incident meant nothing to them. However, just because they didn't mention it didn't mean it didn't happen. There are always people who will remember. "Yeah, you and your brother don't have a blood relationship. Maybe you'll be a family in the future," Kathy said coquettishly and blamed them. "Don't talk nonsense. My brother will be angry if he hears that." Looking at their backs as they chatted and laughed and left, I couldn't help but feel a little expectant. When I entered the classroom, the atmosphere during the break was very good. And it didn't seem like a building jumping incident had just happened around here. When I introduced myself on the podium, everyone cast curious glances at me. Looking around the classroom, there were outsiders who didn't care, onlookers with a mocking expression, accomplices who indirectly or subjectively condoned the bullies, and the mastermind behind the bullying. All these roles were essential for the bullying to happen. I pointed at the empty seat in the corner at the back of the classroom with a well-behaved look and said, "Teacher, can I sit in that empty seat?" As soon as I finished speaking, the classroom suddenly became chaotic. I naturally knew why they were so excited, and the head teacher, like getting rid of a hot potato, told me to quickly take my seat and get ready for class. After getting off the podium, I passed by Kathy and couldn't help but take a second look at her. She sat there quietly, with a gentle and serene face. When our eyes met, she smiled at me gently, and it reminded me of the side profile with a mocking smile that flashed by among the chaotic figures in the video. During that bullying, everyone was in chaos, but she was like a perfect observer. Inside, she was in a mess, but on the outside, she didn't get stained at all. As a bully, she was perfect. I was quite excited. She must maintain her current elegant and composed posture. The higher she holds herself, the more embarrassed she will be when she falls into the quagmire. I must perform well this time. After sitting down, my desk mate kept showing me the back of his head. It wasn't until after class that that dark head moved. His long legs bent slightly, and the desk and chair made a sound. Everyone's eyes instantly focused on us. Slowly, he turned his face in another direction. His features were sharp and deep, and his expression was lazy when he noticed the extra books on the adjacent desk. His scattered eyes gradually showed anger, and the atmosphere around him became much more oppressive. It was well known that Jasper didn't like having a girl as his desk mate. Seeing that I was risking my life to be Jasper's desk mate, everyone was looking forward to how I would be driven away. With Jasper's acquiescence, there were quite a few girls who were indirectly tortured away by Kathy. Jasper's family was wealthy, and his elders had a lot of say in the school. So no one in the school dared to confront Kathy and her group head-on, and Kathy was very skillful. She secretly guided others to bully those who got close to Jasper, and she never put herself in the whirlpool of rumors. However, this time they were going to be disappointed. When Jasper saw me, he had an expression of disbelief and joy. "Rachel," I was surprised and showed a sweet smile. "What a coincidence. You're in this school too." A month ago, I was hit by Jasper on his motorcycle. After he took me to the hospital, the doctor cleaned my wound. Jasper leaned against the door, looking thoughtful, and his eyes would occasionally fall on me. In his opinion, other girls would stick to him if they had the slightest connection with him, but after arriving at the hospital, besides thanking him, I ignored him for the whole time. This feeling must not be good for Jasper, who was used to being fawned over. So, After being bandaged, when I called him, a mocking smile flashed in his eyes. He probably wanted to say that as expected, I was just pretending to be reserved before. I looked at him seriously and said, "You were speeding, so you should pay for all the medical expenses. Is that okay?" When he heard that, Jasper was directly stunned. Then, he tentatively asked, "Can I add you on WeChat? Contact me if there are any problems later." "No need, the doctor said it's okay," and I believe the doctor. After settling the expenses, I left without looking back. Just as I was planning another chance encounter, Jasper somehow got my phone number and kept inviting me to dinner, saying it was an apology, but I refused every time. "Jasper, to be honest, you're a nice person as a friend, you're gentle and responsible, but my family is strict, so let's not contact each other until the college entrance examination." Since the fish had already taken the bait, I didn't need to plan another encounter. After that, I would receive text messages from him from time to time, and my distant attitude seemed to whet his appetite. At this moment, from his red ears, it was not difficult to see that he was very happy to see me again, and naturally, I was even happier. When he saw the hideous scar on my arm after the stitches, Jasper felt very guilty. He gave me a lot of expensive scar-removing ointment, and he even wanted to take care of my 3 meals a day. I accepted Jasper's kindness and also gave him generous gifts in return. I would occasionally bring him breakfast. Soon, some people began to show their dissatisfaction with this. I casually placed the breakfast on Jasper's desk and went to the water room to get water. By chance, I caught a glimpse of Kathy and Jasper. "Brother, you've been getting too close to Rachel recently. The school prohibits puppy love. Mom will be angry if she finds out. Are you being silly? Just because we have a good relationship doesn't mean it's puppy love. I just think she's interesting. Once I've had my fun, you can take care of driving her away. I really hate girls who stick to me like glue." Kathy looked a bit hesitant. "Brother, this isn't a good idea, is it? I'll try to persuade her then." I couldn't help but sneer. How would she persuade her? Find someone to beat the girl up and then say, "If you get close to Jasper again, we'll take your nude photos next time." What Kathy did was all behind Jasper's back. So from Jasper's perspective, those girls who stuck to him left after being persuaded by his sister. Jasper happily ruffled Kathy's hair. Our Kathy is the kindest. When I returned to my seat, Jasper was eating the breakfast that I had asked the driver to buy for him with a pained expression. When he saw me enter the classroom, he immediately smiled. And he was completely different from the mean-spirited person he was just now. "Rachel, where did you buy the breakfast? It's quite delicious." I smiled. "Was it really delicious? It even has cilantro, which you hate the most. I asked the aunt at home to make it for you. I'm glad you like it." I didn't say anything more. After sitting down, I opened my book and started studying quietly. Jasper couldn't sit still. He asked, "Rachel, have you been applying the medicine on time? It won't look good if a girl has a scar on her arm." My eyes instinctively landed on the fair and tender arm that Kathy exposed after rolling up her school uniform. Josephine's arm was bloody. She had more than a dozen stitches. It was scratched by the wire of the banner on the tree when she jumped off the building. Those injuries on her body might become marks of humiliation that could never be removed. So Kathy's arm was too smooth and the whiteness was too blinding. When I ignored him, Jasper was a bit disappointed. He didn't make a sound for a long time and was fiddling with his notebook. Until the morning reading was over, he triumphantly held up a sketch. The sunlight poured down, and the light and shadow overlapped. The girl's profile was exquisite, like a butterfly that briefly stopped in the light, quiet and beautiful, making people reluctant to disturb her. His eyes were shining. He smiled as if asking for credit. "What do you think? Does it look like you?" It did look very much like me. You could see the care of the creator in every stroke, including the details. I heard that Jasper was going to apply for an art academy in the future. His hands had distinct joints, and they were well-proportioned and slender, so good-looking that they could be hand models. Of course, besides having nice hands, his paintings were also beautiful. It would be really exciting if they were ruined. "Jasper, if you lost the ability to paint in the future, what would you do?" Jasper was taken aback. "I've never thought about it. I was born to paint. My dad said the same thing. He said he was born to atone for his sins. Because of his carelessness many years ago, he had to atone for his sins for the rest of his life. Now, because of some people, his sins were even deeper." Jasper was confused. How could that be? People live because of love their dreams, love the people they love. How can your uncle be so pessimistic? I was a bit shocked. I didn't expect to hear such words from a selfish person like him, But then I understood, Jasper's parents were deeply in love, and he was the crystallization of their love, so they gave all their love to Jasper. Later, because they couldn't have another child for their own reasons, they found a girl from an orphanage to be Jasper's playmate according to Jasper's wish. Jasper had seen the most beautiful family love and romantic love, so in his opinion, it wasn't difficult to get pure feelings. But later, with Kathy's interference behind the scenes, over time, those pure feelings became premeditated approaches. The feelings that people offered to Jasper became burdens and something he couldn't get rid of, like glue. There were so many people who gave their hearts to Jasper, but he generalized and regarded them as stains, yet he was addicted to my distant attitude. So after I frequently asked the class monitor to explain the questions to me, Jasper's unease reached its peak. After school that day, he blocked me in the classroom. The young man was tall and straight. He was clearly a head taller than me, but his momentum was very weak. The corners of his eyes drooped, and his tone was full of accusation and dissatisfaction. "Rachel, I'm clearly your best friend in this school." I looked at him for a while. "But you said you hate girls who stick to you like glue." When he heard that, his pupils dilated slightly, and he looked embarrassed. "You heard that, it's different. You're not like them," I said dejectedly. "Jasper, you're a nice person, but I'm really afraid of misplacing my heart and getting hurt again. So sorry, let's just be ordinary friends." I turned to leave, and Jasper pulled me into his arms. "Rachel, I'll make you know that you're special to me." After that day, Jasper couldn't wait to let everyone know that I was a special existence to him. He brought me breakfast every meal without fail. He fetched water for me during the break, queued up for me during lunch, waited for me to go to and from school, and even beat up the junior who gave me a love letter in the alley behind the school. Jasper had a bad temper because he was spoiled since childhood, but he never raised his voice in front of me. I didn't like it when he lost his temper casually and made a high-profile scene in the classroom that affected others, so he restrained his naughty character. When he talked to me, he coaxed me gently, and he seemed like a different person. Gradually, everyone was sure that Jasper's little desk mate was the most unique existence to him. Soon, some people couldn't sit still. After school, I was blocked in the toilet. The leader was Kate, who often followed Kathy. A group of people pushed me into the separate toilet, and a basin of water with ice cubes was poured over me. It was late autumn, and my school uniform was soaked and stuck to my body. I was so cold that my scalp tingled, and my whole body couldn't stop shivering. "Rachel, you're so shameless. Who told you to get so close to Jasper?" Kate said angrily. "Why are you talking so much? Strip her clothes and take photos quickly." I struggled a few times, and my school uniform was pulled open. Someone took out their phone and took a few photos. "This is just a small lesson for you. Stay away from Jasper. Otherwise, we'll strip you naked and take photos next time." I was sick and rested at home for a few days. During that time, I received a strange phone call. When it rang for the first time, I deliberately hung up. It seemed that the person on the other end was eager to show off something. Soon, they sent me a text message. "You thought you were the special one, but in the end, you're no different. You've been sick for so many days. Has Jasper come to see you? You're so cheap." I replied to the other person with a text message. "Only mice in the gutter are afraid to see the light. People like you are only worthy of being despicable behind the other's back. If your beloved good brother knew that his kind sister is actually a two-faced bitch, being disappointed is just secondary. His parents love him so much, they're afraid that you'll affect their good son, and they might even drive you away. Don't you know your status in their family?" Jasper's parents loved Kathy, but the premise was that Jasper still cared about Kathy. Soon, the person on the other end started to defend their identity, which was clearly like trying to hide the fact that there was silver buried here. I replied with another text message and then blocked the number decisively. "Kathy, the game has just started. Don't be so impatient, or the game won't be fun." Come to think of it, Jasper really didn't come to see me even once, not even a phone call to ask about me. However, I don't need to be in a hurry. After all, the game has just started. They dug out the photos of me being bullied from the school forum, with the title, "Shocking, a girl from a certain school is shameless, knowing that the guy has a girlfriend and still getting involved, and her private life is chaotic." There were several photos, besides the ones with my face mosaicked. There were also some photos with a large scale downloaded from other websites. The netizens were deliberately guided, and soon, some people focused their attention on me. Spreading rumors and making up pornographic rumors about a girl is the fastest way to destroy her. When the time was right, I sent the content of the forum to Jasper. It was as if the person behind that avatar was waiting for my message. He replied almost instantly and asked to meet me. I set the meeting place in front of my house. After all, I was still very weak and not suitable to go out. Jasper came as promised. We hadn't seen each other for a few days, and his cheeks were much thinner. I thought that a heartless person wouldn't be sad. The streetlight was dim. When Jasper saw me, pale and weak, his sharp eyes softened a little. He paused, and his voice was filled with accusation and grievance. "Rachel, I thought you were different from others. But it turns out you're the worst one. You deliberately got hit by me at the beginning, right? And then you transferred to our school." Kathy checked. "The school you used to be in is better than this one. Why did you transfer here all of a sudden?" "To put it bluntly, you just want to play with me." Kathy also said that you would definitely pretend to be bullied and then frame her, just to drive a wedge between me and Kathy. Why? What did I do to you that made you deceive my feelings like this? At first, I didn't plan to win Jasper over so easily, looking at him trying to be strong, but secretly looking for an explanation and comfort. I suddenly felt that it was unfulfilling. After all, Jasper was just a child spoiled by love. I had planned a lot, but I didn't expect him to be won over so easily. I did a lot of preparation, but in the end, I only achieved 10% of what I had planned. To be honest, I was a bit disappointed, but the play had to go on. I don't cry easily. I had to pinch my thigh hard, and my eyes filled with tears. With my sickly makeup, I probably looked forbearing, tough, and pitiful. "Jasper, you keep saying that you want to protect me and that I'm the most special one to you, but when something happens, you don't even bother to investigate the truth. You believe whatever others say. Your so-called sincerity is worthless." After saying that, I turned to leave. Jasper wanted to reach out and pull me back, but he held back. I turned around and stuffed a phone into his hand. "No one protects me, so I can only protect myself. All the truth is in this phone. The password is your birthday. It's your choice whether to look at it or not. I only have one request. From the moment you see the content, we have nothing to do with each other. Jasper, you don't have a chance with me." Looking at his disappointed expression, I kindly reminded him, "Also, take care of your good sister." After saying that, I pointed to my head. "I have a younger brother. He's not in his right mind. If he knew that I was bullied, he would rush back from abroad and return the favor double." After I recovered from my illness and returned to school, everyone looked at me with extremely complicated eyes. While I was packing my things at my seat, the girls who bullied me led by Kate that night came towards me. They all had a bad expression. I heard that they had been tortured quite badly recently. Some were locked in the toilet and soaked with ice water all night. Some were forced to slap their best friends and be slapped in return. But this was just the beginning. "Rachel, I'm sorry, I'm sorry." Several of them bowed and apologized to me in unison, and the scene was very much like the cheesy scenes in Japanese dramas. They clearly didn't want to, but their voices of apology were loud. This was thanks to Jasper standing behind them. He looked at me with guilt and pity in his eyes. At this moment, he saw himself as a savior, standing on the opposite side of evil, thinking that he had saved me from hopeless situation. The culprit who caused the bullying incident was self-righteously trying to save others. This mentality was really ridiculous, but I held back. I numbly packed my desk and prepared to change my desk mate. I knew that Jasper would look at the content in the phone. Even if he didn't, those messages would be passed on to him through others' mouths sooner or later. Sooner or later, he would know. In fact, there were only 2 photos in that phone. One was a scene of me being beaten with a stick while wearing the school uniform of my previous school. The other was a photo of me, covered in injuries, tied to a chair in the sports equipment room and forced to pose in various positions. It was a dark and desperate time. The people who made and spread those photos had already received their due punishment. These 2 photos were enough to explain why I transferred to this school before the college entrance examination. So Jasper knew the truth. I was the innocent and pitiful victim whom he had misunderstood. Jasper shouted at the onlookers and drove them away. It was just the 2 of us in the classroom. He grabbed my wrist. "Rachel, I was wrong. I shouldn't have not believed you." I smiled. "So, you believe me now?" I investigated. "Kate took the initiative to investigate you. She thought you were approaching me with a purpose. As Kathy's good friend, she did such a thing. I've told her the truth, and Kate knows she was wrong." This excuse was really flawless. Kathy had cleared herself again. It was interesting. I broke free from his hand, my eyes full of disappointment. "So you believe me only after you knew the truth, not because you believed me and then investigated the truth." "Jasper, I don't need your apology. The harm has been done. As I said when I gave you the phone, you don't have a chance with me. Jasper's face turned pale, his voice trembled when he spoke. I was wrong, I really know I was wrong. Rachel, you don't know what kind of people the girls who approached me before were. They betrayed me by taking advantage of my kindness to them. I'm really scared. I'm afraid you're like them, but I swear that in the future, I will definitely believe you and protect you from being bullied by others. He was like a puppy, lowering his head in a flattering way, looking at me eagerly, crying and begging for forgiveness. When I didn't respond for a long time, he was so anxious that tears welled up in his eyes, and he barely held them back. But I started crying before him. Jasper, you're afraid of people approaching you with a purpose, but I'm even more afraid than you. In the following time, I showed him my scars and told Jasper about the experience of being betrayed by my close friend and almost being insulted by my friend's brother. As Jasper listened, the veins on his clenched fists bulged, and his eyes were bloodshot. He was eager to explain earlier, and his fear of losing me was probably 7 out of 10. But now, the feeling of empathy made this emotion reach its peak. From this moment on, I was definitely the most special one in his eyes. Because of the common ground, we could empathize with each other. He was like an angry and patient beast. With me around, he held back his burning anger. He carefully hugged me in his arms and tentatively said sincerely, Rachel, I will protect you. Let me protect you. Just believe me this one last time, okay? After a moment of silence, I nodded slightly. Of course, I would forgive him. I've planned for so long. I've been waiting for this moment. To catch the thief, you have to catch the ringleader. With Jasper, I can seriously hurt Kathy and the others. I said I wanted to make peace with Kathy, and Jasper agreed with both hands, and he even specially arranged the place for the meal. At the dining table, I compromised and said I wouldn't care about what happened before. Jasper saw it and felt extremely pitiful. He couldn't help but scold Kate several times, and he even took the opportunity to warn that if there was a next time, he definitely wouldn't let her off. Kate's face looked ugly, but she tried her best to endure, and Kathy spoke gracefully, without showing any flaws. Until halfway through, the two of them went to the toilet. I got up and followed them. Kathy, look at Rachel's triumphant face. She's a bitch. She actually dares to show off here. Kathy said dejectedly, what can I do? My brother really cares about her now. It seems that Rachel is different from the others before. Kate got anxious and said, she's a bitch. What's so different? Your brother is just bewitched for a while. Believe me, I have a way to deal with her. Kathy hurriedly admonished, Kate, forget it. We can't beat her. The college entrance examination is coming up, and I don't want to cause trouble. So, what she meant was that it would be okay after the college entrance examination. How could that be? My sister is still lying in the hospital. How can these people take the college entrance examination? I suddenly remembered the competition that Kathy mentioned on the day I entered the school. Originally, it was a competition between her and Josephine, and the winner would represent the school in the competition. When something happened to Josephine, the quota became hers. The results of the competition would come out in the next 2 days. On the day when the competition results were announced, Kathy was obviously in a good mood, and she even took the initiative to greet me when we met. Kathy, will the results of the competition come out? Kathy nodded, with a confident smile on her face. I also smiled and said, what a coincidence. I also participated in the competition on behalf of my previous school. Kathy was taken aback and said, but the competition started after you transferred to this school. But I signed up early. After saying that, I put away my smile and said provocatively, by the way, I forgot to tell you that I'm the only one in my school who is qualified to participate in the competition. Until the teacher announced the results, Kathy was absent-minded and kept glancing in my direction. As expected, my ranking was higher than Kathy's. When he heard the results, Jasper was the happiest. He held my hand and his eyes sparkled with excitement. Rachel, you're amazing. Come on, there are people watching. I shyly looked in Kathy's direction. I saw that her slender fingers were almost breaking the pen in her hand. Jasper didn't care about the others. My little deskmate did so well in the competition. I'm happy. Who can stop me? I took out a piece of candy, unwrapped it, and stuffed it into his mouth. This is for you. My fingertips touched his soft lips, and Jasper was slightly dazed. He stuttered as he spoke. What, do I have a reward? I raised the smile that I had practiced in the mirror countless times and said, I'm sharing my joy with my best friend. Under the sunlight, perhaps moved by my smile, Jasper's cheeks blushed, his eyes were clear, and there was a light trembling in them. His slender fingertips gently grabbed my school uniform, and his breath was hot as he spoke. Rachel, you're also my best friend. I believe what he said was true, but unfortunately, I lied. After this incident, the people who originally planned to take action against me after the college entrance examination should no longer be able to hold back. To give her a chance, I made an excuse and deliberately separated from Jasper and went home after school recently. The streetlight was dim, and the shadow following me was as eerie as a ghost, making my heart feel cold. In an alley, I stopped to tie my shoelaces. The person approached me from behind, before the handkerchief with a pungent smell could touch me. I nimbly knocked him down. I was forced by my dad to go to a Sonda champion with my younger brother for a while, so I was confident in dealing with an adult man who was off guard. The specially made anti-wolf stun gun electrocuted him, and his whole body twitched, rolling his eyes. I couldn't help but electrocute the thug a few more times. His pants immediately got wet, and there was a foul smell between his legs. I squatted down, covering my nose in disgust. Who sent you? The man hadn't recovered yet, and the corners of his mouth twitched. Drooling, I pointed at the surveillance camera in the corner. It doesn't matter if you don't say it. Judging by your appearance, you're more than 18 years old, right? If I take out this video and give it to the police, uncle, what do you think the result will be for you? I lured the person here because of this surveillance camera. By the way, I'm not 18 yet. When he heard that, the thug's eyes panicked, and he stuttered out the mastermind. It was Kate. She paid him to find a place to rape me. I couldn't help but feel disgusted. Such a scumbag was really a cancer in society. The thug defended himself. I didn't have that intention. She said the key was to prevent you from taking the college entrance examination. I just got out of prison and didn't plan to go back in, so I planned to tie you up. No wonder. Kathy really knew how to hide herself, even at this time. She managed to keep herself out of trouble, to prevent the thug from causing me trouble in the future. I recorded what he said while pointing at his face, and then let him go. In an instant, a scream came from the entrance of the alley. I turned my head and saw the thug clutching his broken arm, curling up on the ground and twitching, wailing pitifully. The streetlight at the corner was dim. The light divided the world into two extremes, one white and one black. My younger brother Frank, dressed in black, stood in the beam of light, with a casual posture, an elegant smile, and a hint of bloodthirsty danger. Sister, long time no see. My heart skipped a beat. My plan might be ruined by this guy in front of me again. Frank had been sent abroad for half a year. Does Dad know that you're back in the country? Frank, with his hands in his pockets, stiffened his steps as he followed me and said awkwardly, "Don't tell Dad." I knew that if Dad knew he came back without permission, the time he had to stay abroad would definitely be extended. Seeing that I didn't say anything, Frank was a bit depressed. I really know I was wrong. I won't cause trouble this time, but it's better to kill me than to let me watch you being bullied by others. I stopped and turned to look at him. Did you send someone to follow me? Otherwise, he couldn't have known what happened in the country, after not seeing him for half a year. The young man in front of me had grown a lot taller. He had a tall and straight figure like a bamboo. When he looked at me, he slightly lowered his head. His eyes were deep and cold, yet also had a unique tenderness. That was to protect you, sister. I miss you and Dad so much. He gently hugged me, and his head drooped weakly on my shoulder, looking pitiful. For a moment, I remembered the first time I met him, when I was 12 years old. I was kidnapped by my dad's opponent and sold to a small mountain village. After being hungry for 3 days, Frank brought me food. He was about the same age as me, skinny. His dark skin couldn't hide the scars all over his body. The wound at the corner of his mouth had scabbed over, and there were red slap marks on his face, which were freshly hit. There were always new and old wounds on his body. He looked numb as he urged me, "Hurry up and eat. I need to take the bowl away." The bowl was always taken away, along with other sharp things. I know, I don't have a chance to get out alive. Can you leave the bowl? I don't want to be bullied by them before I die. The kidnappers said they would tear up the ticket when they got the money. Moreover, I was already 12 years old. Seeing the determination in my eyes, his cold eyes finally focused on my face. "It's useless. You can't fight against them. How do you know if you don't try?" He didn't say anything more. But when he left, he accidentally left the bowl behind. When I slashed the kidnapper's neck with the shard of the bowl, Frank watched helplessly. His eyes changed from numbness to shock, as if he came back to life from being a dead person. Even if I couldn't get out alive, I had to take someone with me. That's who I am. In the end, at my call for help, the skinny boy rushed over and pressed the man's neck with a burst of strength. He viciously stabbed the man a few more times with the shard. Hot blood spurted all over his face, and his eyes were stained red with blood. His eyes were filled with an unusual excitement. I pulled him and ran out of the village. When we were exhausted and collapsed, we met George, who was leading the police to raid the village at night. I cried out, "Why did you come so late?" My dad hugged me tightly, trembling all over, unable to say a word. Frank was rescued by the police, and his eyes stared straight at me and my dad. The envious look finally turned into disappointment. He was as lonely as a puppy abandoned by its master. Later, I learned that Frank's parents had died early, and he was sold into the small mountain village by his relatives. In the ward, Frank said that if his parents knew he was thrown into the cannibalistic mountain village by his uncle, he didn't know if they would jump out of their coffins. Finally, he smiled self-deprecatingly. Probably not. For so many years, no one ever saved him, never. My dad was emotional. Others would be terrified when they knew the scene of Frank stabbing that night, but my dad just hugged the skinny Frank into his arms. "It's all over. Dad will protect you from now on. If anyone dares to bully you, I'll fight them." My dad protected his children. He would only show his vulnerable and emotional side in front of his family. He always got revenge on the outside. A few days later, Frank's uncle's family lost everything because of an artificial fire. The person who set the fire had a grudge against their family. When the uncle went to seek revenge, he accidentally killed someone and would spend the rest of his life in prison. The night was cold. People with broken hearts couldn't be warmed. They could only snuggle up to each other and lick their wounds. I hugged Frank back. "Be good this time, otherwise, I won't let you see me and Dad again." Hearing the joking tone in my words, Frank smiled and said, "Is it necessary to be so harsh? Just try it." He sighed in my ear and said coquettishly, "Okay, I'll be good this time." The tamed puppy in front of me seemed meek and vulnerable, but in fact, he was terrifyingly stubborn when he went crazy. "Swear." He chuckled and said indulgently, "Okay, I swear." I don't believe it. I gave him a few more warnings. Sure enough, Kate got into trouble a few days later. Kate was stubborn and impulsive, and Kathy was good at pretending to be weak, with just a few words. She could stir up Kate's blood and make her do things that hurt others in the name of friendship. I originally planned to threaten Kate with the video I recorded from the thug, and then take out the evidence that could seriously hurt Kathy. However, Kate was caught for killing someone. The person killed was the thug. It was said that after the thug raped someone successfully, Kate killed him. When this news spread in the class, several of Kate's good friends had already been questioned by the police. When I heard this news again, it was inevitable that I felt scared, and I finally saw shock and panic on Kathy's elegant and composed face, tearing her disguise apart bit by bit. It was really a pleasant thing. "Kathy, do you think Kate will expose others?" During the break, I sat down at the desk next to hers. Kathy forced herself to stay calm. "She did something wrong. What does it have to do with others? You were good sisters. Don't you think she was wronged?" Kathy was too lazy to pretend anymore. She gritted her teeth and looked at me. "I'm just a classmate of Kate's. What does her killing someone have to do with me?" "Rachel, don't think I don't know what you're doing." I smiled and said, "If you say other things, I might admit it, but this is a murder case. You overestimate me." I used money to smooth things over, and a few days later, I finally met Kate. The person who used to be arrogant and unrestrained now looked like a withered tree that had shed a layer of skin. There was no vitality in her eyes, and she looked extremely haggard. When she saw me, she wanted to pounce on me like a madman. "Rachel, you bitch, it's all your fault. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have killed someone. You're the bitch who should have been raped." Frank protected me behind him, and his face was terrifyingly gloomy. "Bitch, are you talking about yourself? Use your unbalanced brain before you open your mouth. Did my sister ask you to find the thug? Did my sister ask you to kill someone? I still have evidence that you abetted someone to attempt rape. Although the victim is dead, this video can make you suffer in prison. Do you believe it?" Fear flashed in Kate's eyes, and she stuttered that she didn't. I stepped forward and said, "Kate, you're suffering here, and your good sister is buried in books, preparing for the college entrance examination. She doesn't care about your situation at all. Are you sure you have nothing to tell me?" Even at this moment, Kate still held on and didn't mention Kathy. People are selfish. When things are going well, they share the benefits. When something really happens, few people can share the trouble. I played the recording of Kathy distancing herself from Kate for Kate to hear. She covered her ears, unwilling to believe it. as if she had expected the content of the recording. Kate, who was forced to transfer schools because of being bullied, didn't have many friends at school. Only Kathy, who was gentle and kind and protected by Jasper, was willing to be friends with her. Kathy approached her because she coveted Kate's superior family background and Kate's eagerness to find someone to rely on. Kate should also know this well, so she took advantage of Jasper behind Kathy to wash away the brand of being insulted and turned from a victim into a bully. The relationship between the two, which seemed unbreakable, was actually in ruins inside. Kate, you've just turned 18, so the best time of your future will be spent in prison, while Kathy's life will be promising. Are you willing to accept that? I broke down her persistence step by step. Watching her go from pretending to be calm to breaking down and crying, and then cursing Kathy with the most vicious words, I couldn't help but feel ironic and disappointed. The relationship between the two was just like this, and Kate was breaking down and crying now, regretting what she had done, because the needle finally pricked her. But unfortunately, this wasn't true repentance. However, whether she sincerely admitted her mistake or not, the law would make her pay the due price. The best time of Kate's life will be spent in prison, and I will definitely ask someone to take good care of her in prison. Frank, who usually likes to stick to me, was unusually quiet on the way home. He turned his head and stared out of the car window, not daring to look at me. It was obvious that he was avoiding something. So, you sent that thug to Kate. It wasn't a question, it was an affirmation. I didn't have evidence, but I was sure that Frank wouldn't hide it from me. He flattered me and grabbed my hand. Sister, I just simply worried that he would come back to bully you, so I found him and threatened him. Who knew that he had such a poor psychological endurance that he actually asked that woman for money and tried to run away. Later, they had a conflict because of a disagreement. Even if they investigate, it has nothing to do with me. I stared at him with his evasive eyes. What exactly did you say to that guy? I just told him about Dad's identity. After he found out, he was so angry that he said Kate caused him trouble and wanted to harm him. Afraid that I wouldn't believe him, he innocently leaned in front of me. Sister, believe me, after the lesson last time, I really know I was wrong. I pushed his face away. Acting cute won't work. When are you going back to school? Although Frank could be out of control when he went crazy, one thing was for sure, he would never lie to me. This time. I was also surprised that he didn't interfere too much, seeing that I wasn't haggle over anymore. Frank relaxed and tilted his head to rest on my shoulder. After this matter is solved, I'll go back to school obediently. But, did we forget something? Frank eagerly sent the recording of Kathy that Kate confessed to Jasper through my phone. There was nothing else in the recording, besides the rape incident led by Kate and acquiesced by Kathy. There were also the things about Kathy guiding Kate to bully the girls who got close to Jasper. As long as Jasper had some sense, after a little thought, he could figure out why the girls who were persuaded by Kathy either transferred schools, became depressed, or even committed suicide. When we got home, as expected, we saw the person involved. I had been busy with Kate's matter these days and deliberately ignored him. My gaze landed on Frank's hand holding mine, and Jasper's face turned ugly. Even though he knew that Frank was my brother, he still had a tense face. It was only when Frank entered the house that his expression completely collapsed. He came over, bent down, and directly grabbed my wrist. His voice was hoarse. Rachel, I didn't break free and said indifferently. It was clearly stated on the phone just now. Kathy is your sister. For your sake, I can let her off. But I can't just pretend that nothing happened. She's like a time bomb. She's too scary. We should live our own lives and stop contacting each other. I wish you all the best in the college entrance examination. I bypassed him and was about to go home, but he hugged me from behind. No, why should I take the blame for Kathy's mistakes? After saying that, I felt a wet warmth on my neck. I said I would protect you, and I will definitely do it. Please believe me. Okay, don't rush to deny my sincerity. I broke free from him. Jasper, sincerity that can't be felt is worthless. Anyone can just say it with their mouth. The next day, when I went to school, the teacher said that Kathy's parents had asked for a sick leave for her. Asking for a long leave close to the college entrance examination inevitably made others wonder why, and with Kate's matter happening recently, some people quickly connected the two things. In an instant, everyone jumped on the bandwagon. For that's Sophia who had an accident before. Kathy and Kate caused her a lot of trouble. Could Kathy be involved in the murder? I also heard that Kate locked Sophia in the toilet for a whole night before she jumped off the building. Kathy and Kate were so close. How could she not know? Yeah, if it weren't for Jasper protecting her, who would care about her? she always pretends to be innocent, but I think she's jealous of Sophia." After saying that, everyone's eyes were fixed on the girls who often hung out with Kate. "You guys must know something about Sophia, right?" Those people were so panicked that they wished they could bury their heads in the ground. At this moment, who would dare to admit that they were close to Kate? The onlookers started to target me. "Rachel, you have a good relationship with Jasper. You should know why Kathy took a leave of absence, right?" I smiled. "Since you're so interested, I have Jasper's phone number. Do you want to ask him?" Those people looked embarrassed and shut up obediently. I looked at those who were adding fuel to the fire and secretly planned in my heart. I had carefully arranged the fates of those who directly participated in bullying Josephine, but for those who just had a mean mouth, it was hard to convict them. However, they also played a certain role in the whole bullying incident. The harm that bullying brings to the victim is one part. What the victim can't bear in the end is often the gossip that goes on day after day. This is also part of the bullying, but many people don't realize it. After Kathy took a leave of absence, Jasper also didn't come to school for several days. I saw Jasper again a few days later after school in the evening. He looked much more haggard. There was stubble on his fair chin, and his eyes were tired, not as bright as before. When he saw me, I turned around and left. "Rachel." He was in a hurry and directly blocked my way. "Jasper, I've already said that we should stop contacting each other. Don't you understand?" Jasper was eager to show his determination. "I've already kicked Kathy out of the house. I'll send her abroad after the college entrance examination. You won't see her again in the future." Actually, I already knew what he said. I paused. "The college entrance examination is coming up, and I want to focus on preparing for it, Rachel. I've been busy with Kathy's matter these days. We haven't seen each other for a long time." I looked at him quietly and my tone showed a little compromise. "We're seeing each other now." Actually, I wasn't satisfied with the result regarding Kathy, but I couldn't show it at the moment. Jasper stared at me for a while. Under the bright streetlight, I could faintly see his reddish cheeks. "Yeah, we're seeing each other, but it's still not enough." I endured the repulsion all over my body and gently hugged him. "Jasper, I know this matter has put you in a difficult position, but I really can't get along with Kathy. You're the one I trust the most. I'm really afraid that you'll choose her." Jasper's body tensed slightly, and he hugged me tightly, deeply touched. When he opened his mouth, his voice was heavy and powerful. "Rachel, Kathy can never compare to you. You're the only one for me." I looked past the black shadow not far behind Jasper. When our eyes met, I showed her a provocative smile. "Jasper, you've used up your last bit of value to me. The game should end. The fastest way to destroy someone is to destroy the things that they've been insisting on in their hearts for a long time." What Kathy cared about the most was to make the Jasper family care about her. Otherwise, she wouldn't be so perverted as to try her best to drive away the people around Jasper. But now that the situation has changed, she has become the one who peeks at me and Jasper in the dark. The person in the photo no longer has the bright and beautiful face she used to have. Her eyes are covered with hatred and jealousy, and she has become ferocious and mean. I originally gave this task to a professional, but Frank did a surprisingly good job. For those who hurt me, Frank can't wait to see their miserable ends. After getting my approval, he became even more skillful in following Kathy. Including when I sent those photos to Kathy, he clearly captured her furious look. "Sister, aren't you afraid that Kathy will show the photos to Jasper? She's the target of everyone's criticism now." Without being completely sure, how dare she cause more trouble? Soon, Kathy, who couldn't hold her temper, called me. Her tone was still arrogant, and she didn't realize her precarious situation at all. "Rachel, do you think you've won? After the college entrance examination, I'll take back everything you took away." It was ridiculous. She was still waiting for the college entrance examination. "Kathy, have you ever heard the saying that a biting dog doesn't bark? You're barking because you're scared. Your good brother only has eyes for me. After graduation, when I marry into your family, I'll be your sister-in-law. Don't worry, I'll take everything you have in the Jasper family step by step." The other end could no longer stay calm and asked sharply, "Rachel, I have no grudges against you. Why are you targeting me? I've already apologized for Kate locking you in the toilet. What else do you want? You induced Kate to find someone to rape me. We haven't settled that score yet. The college entrance examination is coming up, and I don't have time. After the college entrance examination, I'll personally hand over the evidence in my hand to the police, and then add a thick and heavy stroke to your perfect record, Kathy. Those who do something wrong have to pay the price." After hanging up the phone, Frank expressed his dissatisfaction. Sister, do you really plan to continue being involved with Jasper? The reason why Frank asked this was that he knew nothing about my next plan. I was too lazy to explain to him. Find a place to live these 2 days and don't come back here. Frank looked resentful. What, am I getting in the way of you and Jasper? I slapped the back of his head. Use your brain. You eat any kind of jealousy. Would you eat gutter oil? He grinned. As long as it's given by my sister, I'll eat it. I shook my head. This guy is hopeless. I had thought that Kathy would come to me for the evidence in my hand, but I didn't expect it to happen so quickly. Actually, Jasper and she were on the same side. It was better to find a way through Jasper than to take risks by herself. But when people are in a desperate situation, they will lose their minds and take risks. She followed me for a long time after school and finally pushed open the door that I had deliberately left open. I set the time to after the college entrance examination. As the college entrance examination approached, she became more and more nervous and pressured. When she entered the room, her eyes were red. She was decadent but also had a desperate and ruthless look. Rachel, give me the evidence. I promise I'll never show up in front of you again. I smiled. Why should I let you go, Kathy? My goal is to ruin you. Kathy was so irritated that her face was distorted. Rachel, tell me, what exactly did I do to you? She probably still couldn't figure out why I was hounding her. You should know Sophia, right? She also has another name, Josephine. She's my long-lost sister. Now do you understand why I'm targeting you? From the beginning, you made a wrong judgment. My target wasn't Jasper. It was you. Kathy's face changed slightly. I don't know what you mean. Seeing her pretending to be calm, I found it ridiculous and sad. Kathy, actually Josephine didn't like Jasper at all. You misled Kate, and then started bullying her. Josephine had a suicide note. In order to cover up the bullying incident, the school deliberately hid it and gave Josephine's adoptive parents a sum of money to keep them quiet. At my request, my dad put away the suicide note. Besides the school leaders, no one else knew about it for the time being. From the suicide note, it was not difficult to see that Josephine was forced by her adoptive parents to drop out of school and earn money to support her younger brother, so she was determined to seize the opportunity to get into a good school because she had promised her adoptive parents that if she got into a good school, there would be a scholarship, which was a huge sum of money for them. She just didn't expect that after finally getting into a good high school, when her adoptive parents finally compromised and she was about to get rid of the nightmare and start a new life, Kathy ruined it. Because she had good grades, she outshone Kathy everywhere, and she endured the bullying for nearly 3 years. She endured it for almost 3 years, but in the end, she couldn't hold it in anymore. But was it her fault? In a situation where she had no one to turn to, she endured for 3 years. The suicide note was full of the depression and despair of these 3 years, but she never mentioned Jasper. Kathy, now you understand, right? Unless I ruin you, I will never stop. The evidence in my hand may not be enough to send you to prison, but it's enough to make everyone abandon you and put a shackle on you in society. Wherever you go in the future, I'll take this video with me. If I can live until you have a son, I'll send the video to your son's full moon banquet and make you be pointed at by others for the rest of your life. No, I should make your whole family bear the mistakes you've made. Her face turned pale little by little, and her forced calm was instantly torn apart. She went crazy and let out a scream. Rachel, you bitch. Give me the video. I sidestepped and directly exposed the fruit knife on the fruit plate behind me. Kathy's originally irritable mood seemed to calm down the moment she grabbed the knife handle. She looked at the knife in her hand as if she had lost her mind. You go to hell. Once you're dead, the evidence will be gone. It was unexpected that Jasper burst into the room. Without thinking, he stood in front of me, the knife stabbed into his abdomen, and blood flowed all over the place. Frank rushed in right after and kicked Kathy to the ground with a heavy kick. Then he picked up a chair and threw it at her. Kathy was beaten until her head was bleeding, but she was in a daze and tried to explain the whole story to Jasper. I didn't care what she said at all because the game was over. The truth didn't matter. What I cared about was that the person who made a mistake was punished. Jasper's eyes were empty. It seemed that he had listened, yet it also seemed that he didn't care. He covered his wound and buried his head in my abdomen, repeating the same sentence. I'm sorry, it's all my fault, but who should really be blamed? Should we blame Kathy, who lacks love and is insecure, or should we blame Kate, who craved the company of friends, or should we blame Jasper, the culprit behind this series of events, or should we blame those bystanders who indirectly contributed to the bullying? I can't define it, but those who deserve punishment won't be able to escape. The ambulance wailed away. And Frank hugged me in his arms. The night wind was slightly cool, but it was very comfortable. His voice was hoarse, and there was a sense of relief as if he had lost something and got it back. Sister, why did you use yourself as bait? What if something happened to you? I looked up and touched his face. You fool, I just want you to know that there are many ways to get revenge, but the prerequisite is not to be blinded by hatred and ruin myself. More importantly, you have to be fine and not make Dad and me sad again, when I was bullied before. I originally had my own revenge plan to make that group of people pay a heavy price, but everything was disrupted by Frank. He lured the bullies to the gym where I was bullied. The self-defense skills I learned after being kidnapped came in handy. He went crazy and directly disabled that group of people. If I hadn't noticed something was wrong and rushed there, he almost caused a death. As early as when he saw the photos of me being bullied, he lost his mind, but I didn't notice it at that time. I held Frank, who was red-eyed from anger, tightly and finally managed to soothe him. He was covered in wounds, and when he choked out an apology, he said to me, Sister, I'm sorry, it's my fault, I didn't protect you well. How could I blame him? It was because of the love he and Dad had for me that I had the courage to resist the injustice of the world, and I wasn't broken down by the bullying incident. It was me. I wasn't careful enough and didn't notice his abnormality, which led to the tragedy. It was the other side who was at fault in the first place. In the end, my dad used money to settle the matter and then sent Frank abroad to avoid the trouble. In this world, the people I care about the most are Frank and Dad. If possible, I want to do my best to make them happy. Frank touched my head, feeling sorry for me. If Dad knows about this, he'll be heartbroken. The warmth disappeared instantly, and I warned him seriously. He's on a business trip abroad these 2 days. I advise you to keep your mouth shut. But, I interrupted him, you don't want him to know that you came back to the country without permission, right? He wanted to say something, but finally shut his mouth obediently. Kathy was taken to the police station from the hospital. I heard that Jasper's parents didn't show up throughout the process, because there was a problem with Jasper. His hand was scratched when he was struggling with Kathy over the fruit knife. It wasn't serious, but he couldn't paint anymore. Now, Jasper's parents couldn't forgive Kathy no matter what. In the middle of the night, when they thought that they had raised a murderer who had ruined their biological son, I wonder how they felt. The college entrance examination was approaching, and I posted Josephine's suicide note online. As I said, those who directly bullied and those who indirectly contributed to the bullying would eventually be punished. The bullying incident was amplified by the self-media and caused an uproar in society. Many parents were worried about their children's college entrance examination and also paid special attention to the bullying incident. They had studied hard for 12 years. In the end, it wasn't because of an accident that they couldn't take the college entrance examination, but because they were bullied and almost lost their lives and missed the college entrance examination. If it were their own children, they couldn't even imagine it. There was a lot of public anger on the internet. The education department was caught up in the public opinion. In order to give an explanation to the public, they established an investigation team. At the same time, other students who had been bullied before and didn't dare to speak up had their parents come forward to seek justice on their behalf. The students who participated in the bullying were publicly severely warned by the school, and it would be recorded on their files. The teachers who ignored the students' cries for help were dismissed from their posts. The school leaders who deliberately covered up the bullying incident were directly given administrative punishments, which affected their career prospects. As for the people in Jasper's family who had connections in the education department, they were also implicated. Netizens followed the clues and exposed the company behind them, and the Jasper family's business was also affected to a certain extent. Most importantly, Jasper's parents sued Kathy, and my dad also contributed. She was sentenced to 3 years in prison for breaking into the house and hurting people. I heard that she had been trying to commit suicide in prison, hoping that Jasper's parents would come to see her, but she didn't get what she wanted in the end. 3 years is neither long nor short, but for Kathy, it should be the most special 3 years of her life. As for what she will encounter after she gets out of prison, it depends on whether she sincerely repents and whether Josephine will choose to forgive her. Everything seemed to have settled down, but some wounds would take years to heal. After the college entrance examination ended, Josephine was still in a coma. Jasper was also going through a difficult time in the hospital. He couldn't get over the fact that he couldn't paint anymore. I heard that he lost his temper every day in the ward. Jasper's parents pinned their last hope on me. I was already annoyed by dealing with Josephine's adoptive parents, and I was even more annoyed when I heard about Jasper, but I still decided to see him. Since Josephine's accident, my dad had been crying every day, seeing him getting more and more haggard. I could only feel pitiful for him and couldn't help in any other way. Jasper was in a bad state. Just before I entered the ward, there was the sound of something breaking. When he saw me enter, the irritable person finally suppressed his temper a little and stared at me as if he was asking for help. He wanted to seek comfort from me, but he obviously chose the wrong person. Jasper, it doesn't feel good to lose something you care about, does it? The hope in his eyes was dashed. And he laughed at himself. So what Kathy said is true, you don't love me at all. Everything before was just an act on your part. Otherwise, what about you is worthy of being liked? Is it your overbearing arrogance, or your self-righteous thoughtfulness and sincerity? Ask yourself, do you really know how to love someone? At first, you were interested in me because I used some tricks. If I was just an ordinary person and stuck to you like others, you wouldn't even look at me. Even I might have become the target of Kathy's bullying. Jasper, you're actually a very selfish person. Jasper's right hand wrapped in bandages trembled uncontrollably. No, I like you. I really like you. I know this better than anyone else. Okay, I'll believe it for now. To make up for me, will you promise me one thing? Jasper nodded eagerly. From now on, never appear by my side. I can't and will never like you. Can you do that? If you can't, I'll find a way to make you do it. When I left the ward, there were faint sobs behind me. Later, I heard that Jasper was sent abroad for treatment by his parents, but it has nothing to do with me anymore. Come to think of it, I really don't know how Josephine endured those more than 10 years in her adoptive parents' house. I'm not afraid of reasoning with others, nor am I afraid of playing tricks. I'm just afraid of meeting someone who is thick-skinned and difficult to deal with. Josephine's adoptive parents probably realized the power of the self-media and wanted to get a share of the pie. They insisted on taking Josephine back to their side. They used all kinds of methods, crying, making a scene, and even threatening to commit suicide in the hospital. I had a headache, and I was also afraid that Frank would do something stupid when he lost his temper. Now many people were watching this matter. Any little bit of movement would be enough for the unscrupulous media to make a hot topic for a few days. In the end, my dad decided to give them a sum of money. I object. You know what kind of life my sister had in their house. Just hearing the name Sophia made my scalp tingle. Frank chimed in, Dad, my sister is right. My dad was already dizzy from the trouble caused by Josephine's adoptive parents and was looking for a way to vent his anger. After Frank finished speaking, my dad said angrily, when is what your sister said wrong in your eyes? Frank shrugged, that's true. I pulled him back and told him to stop adding fuel to the fire. My dad sighed, Rachel. Trust Dad this time. Since he said so, I didn't insist anymore. As a result, a few days later, Josephine's adoptive parents tasted the benefits. When they went to my dad to ask for money again, it happened that my dad had withdrawn cash from the bank. They took away a large sum of money, and my dad turned around and sued them for extortion. The first time I gave them money, it was out of gratitude for their raising Josephine. But later, their greed made them deserve what they got. You see, I've learned a lot from my dad. A month later, finally, there was good news. Josephine woke up. I was the only female in the family, so she clung to me. My dad and I focused all our attention on Josephine, hoping to make her feel the love of her family. This made Frank, who felt left out, secretly jealous. Fortunately, after spending a lot of time together, Frank finally accepted having a cute and well-behaved sister. The whole family celebrated for her, and Frank sulked aside. I used to think he was impulsive and paranoid, but recently I found that he was really jealous. I fed the cake to his mouth and coaxed him gently. Why are you jealous? Our family has a top student who can choose between Tsinghua University and Peking University. There are so many universities for someone like me who got more than 600 points in the exam. It was the first time I heard such a fresh and unusual joke. Frank, where did you learn to be so thick-skinned? Take Josephine to learn it. After saying that, he gave me a resentful look and turned over to sulk. Oh no, this guy's fragile heart was broken again. What else could I do? Since I made him angry, I had to comfort him. After hearing the story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.